Well, hopefully this is all working well. Screen. Okay, there we go. There we go. So let's see. Why can't I see you now? I know there's two of you there waiting, so hello to you two, but I can't get my screen to look sensible. But never mind. Okay, let's just go with that. Let's go with that and see how we get on. Okay, right. Well, hello. Oh, it's always a nightmare, this technology. Okay, so do say hello. Hello, Billy. Hello, hi. How you doing? Hello, Mel. Gosh. Oh, you've either woken up in the middle of the night or you're really tired. So I hope you're okay. That's great. Nice to see you both there. So I'm quite happy just to plow straight into questions. I don't mind. I did actually last week, you know, I had a whole bunch of questions that had been written beforehand. And I don't think I actually got to actually talk about the questions that actually came through. Tea and biscuits, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Tea and bickies. So I'm going to cover the questions that I had for lined up for last week, and we'll kick off with those. And also, what I want to try and cover in this sort of 45 minutes or an hour is also touch upon this thing that's called blind dowsing, because that's a really interesting way for people, especially when you're learning dowsing, to actually disconnect from the outcome. There's this big thing about the fact that we like to be able to we want to make sure that we disconnect our own expected responses, our intellectual responses from questions that we're asking, and blind dowsing is a way to do that. But before we talk about that, I'm going to just cover, I had a question from Maureen during the week. And she said, this is quite interesting because Maureen does quite a lot of land healing and house healing and this sort of thing. And she said that one of her teachers said that land cannot be worked on without consent of the owner. For instance, public spaces or industrial sites. Now, she says she disagrees with that, but she says that, you know, she gets that we're not supposed to work on someone's personal property without consent. But these spaces, well, she says, we believe we're called to come and help in that. What do I think? Well, I agree with Maureen, actually. I don't think that there's an issue at all with working on somebody or somebody's land without their consent. Now, there's a few caveats to that. Obviously, all the work that we're doing, hello, Melinda, hi, excellent, good to see you. All the work that we do as house healers is always done for the greatest good and in alignment with divine will. That's one massive caveat right from the top. I know that a lot of healers and therapists they just won't work on somebody unless they've got their permission. Often, in my case, for example, as a house healer, I'm called in to work on the house, the property, maybe by the mother of a family, and that includes working on the children and or the spouse. And hello there, hi Anna, excellent. Nancy, hello there, hi, good to see you. And so if I'm called in to work on the family or by the mother, I haven't got express permission from the individuals concerned to work on them, but clearly by default, in a way, you've got permission from the mother. So that's one instance. The other thing is really, like I say, all of this work is done in alignment with divine will, and therefore any of the healing work that we do, if it was not in alignment with that divine will, it just simply wouldn't go to the place that we were trying to work with. So I think that really, I kind of think that the ultimate client is the ultimate creator. So, if they don't want things to happen, then nothing's going to happen. And it's as simple as that. I do understand there's a sort of etiquette and a politics involved in it. So, we have to be a little bit cautious, and we always have got to work by the utmost strictest sort of ethics. So that's the answer to that one for Maureen, really. Claire. Now, Claire popped a comment on a video recently, and she was asking about the fact that she'd had a conversation with a dowser who goes along to a house and works with geopathic stress by hammering in metal rods into the ground. And the comment from that dowser was that, remote healing, such as I do, is all very well, but it doesn't tend to stick, doesn't tend to stay in place. What did I think? Well, it's predictable what I think, I guess. But I think the bottom line is, I know that the remote healing works. I know it works because clients tell me it works. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother doing it anymore. I just wouldn't do it. I would shut up shop. So it works. Does it stick? Does it stay in place? Most times, yes, it does. I mean, it's there is no reason why it doesn't. And one of the reasons why it does stick in place is because really the most thorough sort of house healing that I get involved with is doing a full report for a client. So going through all the sections. And when you're doing that, it's really rather sort of comparable with, hello, Dixie, hi, good timing. Yeah, well, neither do the rods last forever. This is it's an interesting one, isn't it? And this is actually, Dixie, really applicable to you. And this is why I've actually raised this question, pulled this out from Claire, because the point is, I've forgotten my train of thought. You have to excuse me. I'm actually really, really tired today. I've been doing a workshop this weekend, and it was a lovely, lovely workshop, but it's absolutely wiped me out. So it may be a little bit low key today. Anyway, so look, remote healing, right? That works, that sticks. Yeah, the point is, when I work with a client and do a full report, Dixie, we didn't really do this. Hello, Melinda. We didn't really do this when we worked with you, did we? So we did the full report, we did all the section headings, but what usually happens is that we get in there and we have the conversations on Skype, and that's what Dixie and I didn't do, for example. So we're still kind of working with him to sort things out. But the crucial thing is that those conversations not only allow us to monitor what's happening in the space. Hi, Dan. But also to start to talk through the perspective of the client, because we are working with very basic, subtle energies. So we are talking about, another way of putting it is like reality engineering, because we're talking about adjusting the perceptions of the individual human beings. Oh, look, the old rainbows there. The individual human beings to the subtle energies of their environment. And part of the way that we do that is by going through the levels in a way, like on the physical level, on the mental level, and on the spiritual level. Now, so I hope Dixie doesn't mind the fact that I've highlighted this is a kind of conversation for him, with Dixie, I want him to understand, and we're sort of working in a very distant way on him kind of learning more about what the subtle energies are. Do correct me, Dixie, if you feel like I'm talking complete nonsense here, right? But yeah, good man. And so, because this is what it's about, earth energy. And primarily Dixie's problem is what he calls rays and what I call earth energy lines. So he calls them rays, and that's fine. That's just a different label for the more or less the same thing. This is all about the structure of reality. Earth energy is, as far as we can work out, is fundamentally the part of the quantum soup in which we all live. Okay, so it's just that we get a line because it's a bit more focused. There's something in that sort of quantum soup layer that is a bit more focused. Now, there might be electrons, I don't know. I mean, it's all geopathic stress. It's all biomagnetic energy fields. Magnetism, I don't know. I don't know what that's composed of. But when we get a concentration of this stuff, it's all about the way that we in here are interacting with it. And reality is fundamentally a projection. I mean, I know it's there, it's solid, right? But it's also a projection. We see what we think we see. We experience what we think we experience. It's it's very, very fundamental. Dan, yes, sure. Drop me a line at my website. Hi, LIS, good to see you again. Dan, yeah, drop me a line at the website, and you can send me an email about what you're looking for there. And it won't take long to verify what you've got, I expect. So, so when we work remotely, it's not just about interrogating the space, doing the dowsing, and evaluating what you find. It's not only just about me asking the management upstairs to do the clearing. It's about also the conversation that we have between me and the client. And in that respect, this is what I mean, is in this respect, it's very much like homeopathy in a way, because with homeopathy, you go to your homeopath, you get given a remedy, right? That's like me doing the dowsing and doing the management work upstairs. That's something that you get given, right? And then you'll go back to the homeopath, and in a few weeks after that first session, and you'll have a conversation and you'll evaluate what's changed. And that's exactly what we do in the house healing. And the homeopath will give you another remedy, and off you go, and you take that remedy. In the house healing work, in the full report business, I do another, I get the management to do another session. So there's another interaction. So it's a process. It's not just about dowser comes along, finds earth energy, detrimental, underground water flows, bangs in a few rods, says thank you very much, and off he goes. It's a very different process. So the remote healing is fundamentally a different process to the physical banging in of rods. Okay, so what do we got here? Yes, that's the next question. Some might draw this energy to them. Yeah, well, it's not. It's again, Dixie. This is about. Hello, JF. Good to see you. This is about. Don't look at it so much as you drawing the energy to you. You're a sensitive guy, right? And you are picking up on the subtle aspects that others don't pick up on. It's like, if we talk about it in terms of food, for example, some people are really, really sensitive to peanuts, of course. Other people are not affected by peanuts. You're affected by earth energy lines. Other people are not affected by earth energy lines. You just happen to be sensitive, like a lot of people are. And it's what is vibrating in association with your vibration, in the same way as everybody's vibration creates the world around them, right? So it's not like it's a bad thing. It's just the way that life is structured, right? Okay. So that's kind of covering off that one, I think, from Claire. Does that make sense, Diggsy? Yeah, 100%. Okay. Billy, I like it when I have Reiki. I think it's factory reset. Yep, clearing out the negative vibes. Well, yes, you see, this is the thing. Now, this is the thing, Billy. That's an interesting point that you've got there, you see, because at the end of the day, people can only change when you've changed your subconscious attitude to life and your conscious attitude to life. And sometimes you need to be using your conscious approach. I know, we talked about mindfulness in the past. You talk about using your conscious approach to actually influence your subconscious. I mean, that way round, right? So you have to be kind of taking charge and making decisions. And if it's breaking habits and breaking the way that we automatically respond to circumstances and situations, then that's what needs to be done. Now, I'm not putting myself up and saying, I've got it sussed, because I'm exactly the same as everybody else, I go through all the usual rubbish. And I didn't bring it through. There's a really good mindfulness book, Billy, and I know we touched on that before. I'll put a link in the notes afterwards. You might like it. I mean, somebody else might like it as well, but get it from Amazon. Anyway, I know that's not what you want. You were just making a nice comment about Reiki, but that's fine. But it applies to us all, right? It's a great book, right? So reality engineering, that's the bottom line. That's what we do really with this house healing work. And that's why it is all about the way that I work, it's all about the contact with the management, so that it's very much on those basic fundamental levels, and then we logically work through some of those other levels face to face, as it were. I'll go right the one I have in a minute. Right, currently reading Reiki for Life by Penelope Grace. Excellent. Okay. Right, so there were a couple of questions that came up last week which I didn't get to, and I don't think I got to this. So Joe asked, how long before dowsing should one meditate for? So he was new to dowsing, and he was asking a few weeks ago about the meditation that I suggest doing before you douse. And that is something that really is going to depend entirely on the individual. The thing to bear in mind is that all the time we need to be aware of the fact that dowsing operates in a different brainwave, different pattern of brainwaves, right? It's not like the day-to-day brainwave pattern. The interrelated aspects of alpha, beta, delta, theta, all of those things, it's a different pattern. It's the same pattern as healing and meditation. And that's why we say, right, go, meditate, allow yourself to drop into a different mindset before you start dowsing. Because this is one of the common issues with dowsing, is that if you just kind of dash around and pick up rods and start straight away without allowing yourself to drop into a different mindset, then you are definitely going to be just getting, odds on chance. So it's a random process then. It becomes guesswork. And of course, I made a video about guesswork recently. But yeah, Joe Dispenza's very good. Thanks. Yes, I do, Dixie. I do think that if you, especially if you're sleeping with a detrimental crossing point, then yeah, it's been proven. There was a lot of work in Germany a few decades ago, in fact, several decades ago now, that certainly seemed to tie up the issues with detrimental earth energy. And yeah, I mean, again, it's about, as you say, is in some cases it's about how susceptible is the individual. It's nothing is black and white, is it? So yeah, I mean, some of these things can be quite serious. So, and again, this is that brings me back around to this point that I always go on about, and some of you may be sick of hearing me talk about it, which is that when we do this kind of reality engineering, we really are looking at the individual and the individual's world. It's because we all, at this level, at the subtle energy level, are interacting with a completely unique set of circumstance, a unique perspective, and the energy of each individual is completely unique. So we can't say, so Mel is, Mel, I'm working with Mel at the moment, and in fact, the last video I did was a demonstration. Shouldn't say that, should I? The last video I did was something to do with that. So it's a unique set of circumstances. The things that affect Mel will not necessarily affect Dixie, right? And the things that affect Dixie will not necessarily affect Billy if she had an issue. We cannot say that one thing is applicable to all, and this is one of the reasons why, mainstream pharmaceuticals, for example, is okay. It's all well and good, and the basic medical practitioners mainstream within most countries, although it's all big pharma and they're all massive industries, and so therefore they're built upon just money making and making money out of the pharmaceuticals, and it really, I'm not a great fan, but the fundamental principle of them is not great, because really it's one pill suits all, and we know that from things like, well, let's not get into sort of national programs of health control, right? Because that just opens a massive can of worms. But yeah, we know it's not good. Oh, Mel, the Aussie Horror House. Okay, well, there we are. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get you sorted for sure. We'll get you sorted. So that's good. But it really is about the individual. So, Joe asked another question. He asked several questions in the particular email that he sent me, and he said how long before he should start seeing consistent, correct results in his dowsing. And again, you see, that's a very unique individual question. We don't know how long that's going to take Joe to actually get to consistent, improved results with the dowsing. It really is a matter of practice, 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 as you know, I always go on about. So, and the reason for practice, practice, practice is to improve, is to get better than guesstimates. So that's you just have to keep at it. It's really is not as simple. If you're trying to get good specific information, it is not as simple as just going out and picking up a bit of wood or a bent bit of wire and just asking a question. It looks as though it is, but like all of these things, it's not really. Now, you know, dowsing used to be incredibly common and was actually just accepted as a thing, as a something that was a little bit mysterious. You know, I'm talking like a few decades ago, in the 60s or something like that, you know, even and a bit earlier. Certainly in the country, in rural areas, the kids would go and grab a stick from the hedgerow and just play dowsing, play finding things and play trying to find water and all this stuff. And I don't know whether you realize or not, but actually dowsing was here in the UK was it was part of the Witchcraft Act until I think it was the 70s, which is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But there we go. Yes, it was banned. It was, Billy. Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, again, it will vary from country to country, but it was certainly banned in the UK. And there's a great sequence of Hamish Miller, my mentor, talking about this, and he's saying, you know, that quite often people would pick up the hazel twigs from the hedgerow and they'd use that, but if anybody came along that was in authority, they just sort of tuck it under their arm and it would just be like gathering firewood. So, you know. Well, Dan, good question. It's not necessarily always the earth energy. There are many aspects, but yeah, for sure, you can get patterns that repeat, and they can not only be associated with earth energy, which sometimes they are, but they can also be literally the subtle realm energies from the individuals concerned. So if you've had a house that, let's say, for example, that a drug addict has lived in, and what happens is that the energy of the drug addict can just permeate into the space. And if they are getting really depressed and all this sort of thing, then you can either get like a thought form appear, you know, developing, or it can actually just seep into the ether, which can then affect the earth energy in the site. So when that person moves out, the next family in, or the next people into that space, can be influenced by that depressive energy that's been left. And this is the fundamental principle of house healing, of clearing. It is literally clearing the space. We take away those detrimental echoes, those shadows. What it does, it doesn't mean to say that if you are, let's say, you know, as an example, I mean, I'm not saying that you are, but if you are troubled with alcohol addiction, for example, by having the house cleared, that is not going to, on its own, cure your alcohol addiction. But what it does do is it means that you're not then being influenced by old echoes of perhaps that somebody else had created within the space where you're living. So it gives you a better chance of working consciously in whatever program you want to adopt to actually overcome the alcohol addiction. Does that make sense? So it sort of gives you a clean slate to work from. And in a serious addiction, you know, I would always really recommend clearing the house as often as possible. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, because the patterns of the addict will very quickly, in that instance, because it's so powerful, because we're talking about addiction, then it just needs to be cleared. And that brings us actually back to the point that I started with about remote dowsing and about walloping in metal rods. The work that I do is never just one healing and that's it. It is several healings. It's several clearings. Or it's not me, it's upstairs doing the clearings, but we do them. We're clearing away, because all healing, no matter who you go and see, whether it be a house healer or a homeopath or a different kind of therapist, it's all about the person. The healing is in layers, and in the same way as Billy actually was mentioning that, some of the same things sort of come back and she's troubled by them. The same themes will continue to appear in your life as you go through life if you don't address the cause of the imbalance at some point in your life. So it might be, let's take a really basic example. It could be that you just can't maintain a long-term relationship with anybody. And I'm not talking about any of you specifically. I'm just saying a person might not be able to maintain a long-term relationship. Now, obviously, in that circumstance, there would be all sorts of things influencing that, and it's not just in the subtle realms. You'd want to be talking to a therapist of some kind so that they could actually pull apart what it is that's going on in your makeup, in your background, in your life story history, to see where the issue of imbalance in that sense would be. But again, that person might come to a house healer, and we might find that actually there's symbolically within the earth energies, within all the different energies within the subtle realms, something that actually is indicative of separation, of barriers being formed, and things being pulled apart. You can very often find with house healing, when you go into, if you're working with a family that is always at each other's throats, always arguing, you quite often find that there's actually a very strong earth energy line that goes across and cuts the house in half. I was going to say the room in half, but it's the house in half. And that means that you've got these two halves, fighting halves. So you use quite often parents and children or whatever. And, it's there. It's symbolically shown to you in the floor plan. Right, let me catch up here, Billy. What are we doing? Yes, that's right. Exactly. That's it, Billy. Yeah. Yep, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's whatever suits you, And at the end of the day, all healing and all self energy work, self kind of how would you put that? Housekeeping, kind of, is really down to the individual. It's entirely up to individual choice. Of course, it is. So yeah. So, any other questions? I've got some more here that I will go through. Yeah. So this is an interesting one, because Joe writes to say he's had the rods moved, sometimes on their own with correct answers, sometimes on their own with wrong answers, and sometimes not at all. Probably being guilty of unintentionally moving the rods for the known answer too. Now, obviously, this is one of the things that I say when you're starting out, is that you douse for things that you know about. But of course, what that brings in is the fact that logically your mind goes, well, I know the answer to that. The answer is that I'm, if you ask the question, am I sitting down? Then yes, I am sitting down. I know I'm sitting down. So the answer is to do what we call blind dowsing. And now, obviously, for when you're learning, it doesn't really matter too much. But once you get over that very, very initial learning thing, if you want some specific information that's important to you, you might be asking about whether you should change your job, for example. So that's what I mean, a significant question. What you do is blind dowsing, which is you get a couple of identical bits of paper and just draw on them a yes, so that's a Y, and a no, right? Put them down, face down, close your eyes, muddle them up so you don't know which is which. And then you frame the question in your mind. So it would be, is this a good time for me to be leaving my current job? And then you ask, please be to show a yes at the appropriate piece of paper. So you're asking for a doused response to the appropriate piece of paper, and you don't know which one has which on it. I mean, I pressed a bit hard on there. You can probably see the shadows through them. But the point being is that you do it so that you don't know which piece of paper has the yes and which piece of paper has the no, and then you douse, and asking in the dowsing response, in the dowsing mode, for the correct piece of paper for the answer to your question. Does that make sense? So you might get, yes, now is the time to be thinking about moving jobs. But the thing is, that I still always say, with decisions like that, don't just rely on the dowsing. Dowsing can give you a really, really, really good guidance, and it can give you more confidence in a decision. But I just personally would recommend that nobody ever 100% kind of commits major life-changing decisions on dowsing. Now that might sound completely bizarre, because some dowsers, of course, are using dowsing all the time for health things and for prescribing remedies, for example. Now, okay, that's fine, but if you think about it, if that is a process of healing, these are little steps that those are diagnosing most of the time. If somebody is dowsing and saying, should I leave my boyfriend? Should I leave my girlfriend? And it says yes. And you go, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to, but okay, the rods say yes, I'm going to go and do that. That's like a major decision on not the throw of the dice, because dowsing is not about the throw of the dice, but dowsing is intuition based. And yes, it's in association with the management upstairs, but the management upstairs has a very different view on the bigger picture. Now, if you're an incredibly spiritual person and you base your life solely in line with the management, and you're solely happy to go with wherever the management wants you to go and just do things like that, that's fine if that's your choice. But what you're doing is you're actually abandoning your power as an individual person. And the balance in this world, because we are human, you might have noticed, the balance is between the power of the individual and the management. So this is why I've said, in the video that I made about law of attraction and surrender, is that you don't just go, do as you will, because you're abandoning your power. And in all of this healing, it was the pendulum made me do it. Your power is the most important thing in this. And most of the time when we're doing healing with people, there is always an aspect of the individual understanding the way that they are relating to their individual power. Now, that sounds a bit woolly, and the reason that it is a bit woolly is because actually it is quite a complicated thing, and again, varies from person to person. So I don't want to just say it's that, and because it's not just one particular way. But the individual power is, Lady K, I didn't see you there. Great, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. Can you just simply just ask for which one is yes and no? Sorry, Dixie, what were you saying with these? But you don't want to be doing that. You don't. The whole point being is that you don't want to know which is yes and no, because you want to be able to ask the question about should I consider leaving my job now? And if your gut reaction is a yes, you don't want to be influencing the dowsing. So what you do is you ask to be shown which piece of paper the management is suggesting, and therefore you're getting the management's input on that concept. Does that make more sense? Yeah. Okay. Right. Fine. That's fine. I think that explained that then. Yeah. There's always a bit of lag on these, but I think that's okay. Good. Okay. I have to say I do feel a bit out of it today, so I hope that some of this is making sense for you. Okay. So got any more direct questions there, folks? It's nice to see you all there again. I have to say, I was very slow in. That's right, Dixie. Yeah, you can't see them, because that means that you're not connecting. You see, the blind dowsing is only useful when you're trying to make sure that you, as the dowser, don't influence the rods or the pendulum. And that's the point. So you can't see what is yes or no, and you ask the pendulum. So in other words, you're then asking upstairs to indicate which one is the appropriate answer, a yes or a no, the actual question that you're trying to find the answer to. Okay, does that? Yeah. You had one at the top of the page. Oh, can I go back up there? Let's see where that is, Mel. It's all good. I don't care who knows. Mel, Dixie, yes. Mel, I think I've lost you. Oh, I have a question for whenever you can cover it. How does one find the power center? In the video, you had already found it. Well, okay. So the power center, right. So the Earth, hello, Tammy, good to see you. The Earth energy power, the main Earth energy power center, what you're talking about is the positive one. So don't forget, all of the stuff that I look for in the house healing work is the detrimental aspects that are adversely affecting the owner of the house. What you're talking about, Mel, I think, is that you want to find the most positive and beneficial Earth energy power center in the house. So that's all you have to do. When I look for this for clients, what I'm asking for in terms of being the most beneficial is the best place for them to sit and meditate, recuperate, allow their body to recuperate and self-heal. So that's what I would be asking if I was doing yours, right? So that's what you ask for. That's what you kind of frame in your head as you douse, right? So literally stand in the main room in your house with the rods or a pendulum and stand in that space, focus on what I've just said, which is you're looking for the most positive power center in the house. And in this instance, let's say to aid your recovery, okay, for absolute peace and wellness, right? That sort of phrasing in your mind. And then let's say you're using rods. And then the rods will move wherever you are in the house. They'll move, and they'll point. Use two of them because it's just quite nice. But for a beginner, it's better. Gives you a more positive response. Once they've moved, just walk in that direction. Now, if you get to a doorway, just confirm that you want to go through the doorway, and so they'll cross and say yes. Just follow them, and then you'll get to the next room, for example, and they will cross when you're standing at the power center. And then you can ask to confirm that. Once you're there, just ask: Is this the most beneficial power center for me at this time, or is this the most beneficial power center for the family, for me and my other half? Okay. I mean, again, Mel, you can do it with the floor plan. Excuse me. And if you want to do it using the floor plan, then just do it in the same way as I did on that video, so run your finger along the top axis and use a pendulum. It's probably easier, or you can use a rod, but run one finger along the paper on your floor plan and it will indicate a yes, which means stop, and then run it down and it'll go yes again, and that'll be the place there. So you've done that axis and that axis, right? So if you wanted to use it on the floor plan. JF, what we got there? If we verify the blind dowsing with asking the question again, or in a slightly different way, is it a way to get the other answer and get more confused? What I recommend, JF, it's a really, really, really good point. What I recommend is that even when you're learning, don't ask the same question in exactly the same way twice. The reason is because more often than not, and I mean massively more often than not, like 90% of the time, you will actually get the opposite result. So, and that in itself is interesting, right? Now, this is partly, I don't want to go into detail now, but we can talk about this because you and I have got a session coming up in the next couple of days, I think. We can talk about this a little bit then, but there would appear to be a reason, and it would appear to be linked to this quantum nature of dowsing and stuff. We're only guessing at that. It's intuitive that this is the reason why. But the thing is that more often than not, if you ask exactly the same question in exactly the same way, you will get the opposite result to what you just asked. And if you ask it again, it'll go back to the first one more often than not. Most people don't bother asking a third time because they just go, oh, well, I don't understand. Reframe the question a little bit, and ideally break off your dowsing. If you're unsure about it, break it off, go away, make a cup of tea, make a cup of coffee, whatever, and then come back to it and ask the question again at that point, either slightly differently, or at that point, if you've had a break from it, you can ask it again in the same way, right? See how you get on with that. But you can absolutely just get really, really confused. So Mel, don't worry too much, because again, that is going to be cleared imminently. I haven't had time to clear it yet, but I haven't given you a positive power center yet, Mel, have I? So I've only done the dowsing on the video, which was highlighting those energy lines and the water lines. Yeah, so I haven't even doused vortices for you, I don't think. But don't worry about it too much. It's going to be. I'm not going to have time to do it today, but I will do tomorrow. I'll be clearing that stuff that's highlighted on that floor plan tomorrow, so it'll be rebalanced. And in fact, the effect of that will. Okay, I mean, this is another thing. The effect of that, Mel, will start. It will actually have already started, because I will ask upstairs to back time the healing, so it will already have started. Now you say, well, how can you possibly ask upstairs to back time the healing? Well, it works. It happens. So it's not quite as effective. In other words, what happens is that we ask from tomorrow, when I sit to do the healing for you, that I will ask it to be back timed to the weekend. It would be a slower ramp up to a healing rather than there, which would be more effective straight off. Do you see what I mean? So the back timing has an effect, but it's a slower, more gentle effect coming into play. I don't know how it works. It's them. Right. Nancy. Yes, that's exactly right. You can do exactly that. And sometimes I do that with clients anyway. When I've been working with attachments, I will sometimes locate where they are by literally drawing the outline, just a quick stick figure type thing in a bit of substance, and then you can locate where it is. Yeah. Tammy, do you have any sort of special thing you say to unblock or clear yourself if you're having trouble getting answers? No, I don't have that. I do just try to really just focus in again, being aware of that feeling of dropping into the different mindset, because, you know, like with any subtle energy work, you can feel when you're locked in place, as it were, and sometimes, you know, you inevitably drift out of that. It happens. But no, I don't have any special sort of chant or affirmation. Yeah, exactly. That's it, Tammy. That's exactly what we mean. Yeah. It's all right, Mel. Yeah, okay. Thanks. That's it. You see, that's exactly that. Guys, you use it in this. You see, if you think about it, I'm using a floor plan to do a house. Doing an outline of a body is exactly the same thing for a person. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, good. Okay, well, you've sorted that out amongst yourselves as well. That's great. Good. Well done. What is meant by power center? Yes, Billy, nearly missed that one. Right. Okay. If you look back or do a search on my channel, Billy, for the Spirit of the Serpent, that is the first video program I ever made with Hamish Miller. And what that is actually, I think you'll find it quite interesting. It's Hamish dowsing with some other people that at a sacred site in the UK, an ancient sacred site, a stone circle. And he talks there about the power center, the earth energy power center, and radials of energy and earth energy lines. And I think that that's a really good introduction to it. And then there's also one about me saying, can you find the earth energy power center in your home? And basically, the power center is basically a vortex. So it shows up as a spiral on a floor plan because that's two-dimensional, but a vortex of energy, you know, it's a vortex of energy. And these things are everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But every house has a main one and the most significant one for the people living in the house in terms of being positive. You know, again, don't forget, as a house healer, I look for the net detrimental stuff, but also I add in a little section of, you know, positivity, of the best positive place in the house, because, you know, you get fed up just looking for detrimental stuff, and it's beneficial. So if you want to meditate with the greatest efficiency, then the best place is to actually find, using dowsing, find the main, most beneficial power center in your house, the earth energy power center, the beneficial one, and sit at that. Most of the time it's okay, but sometimes you actually find it in a really inconvenient place. But in that instance, just sort of start meditating near that spiral, near where it is, as you know. So you start meditating somewhere that is convenient, is comfortable, you feel relaxed, fairly near, and what you'll find is that actually the power center will graduate towards you. It will move. These things are incredibly flexible. So they're not stationary and stuck. Yeah, good. Okay, very good. So we've got 15 minutes or so. Quite happy to be here till 5:30. Dan, is there a book or PDF that lists the specific questions one would ask when dowsing at home? Yes, I can give you that, Dan. Can you drop me a line? Drop me a line using the contact form on my website. Oh, well, you're going to anyway, aren't you? Maybe. But if you do that, then I'll send you a PDF of the one that I use. It's not a problem. It's fine. I mean, to be frank, quite often, I mean, there's 47 section headings on it. So sometimes when I send that out, people just go, don't understand, and that's fine. If that's the case, then just get back in touch. We can always talk it through, but obviously I'll have to charge you for that, but I won't charge you for the PDF, you know. So see how you get on. You might be absolutely fine across it. And I don't, you know, I would rather people practiced this and got familiar with it, and the more people that get familiar with this stuff, then the better it is for everybody, you know. Earth energy and this sort of way of working with dowsing and stuff is not very well known, as you know. And the more it gets out there, the better. So I'm quite happy to give this stuff out for free and to encourage people to do it themselves if they want to do it themselves. Not everybody does. JF, if you have a favorite spot to meditate, can we bring the power center to it? I think yes. I mean, JF, if you've been sitting there for a little while, you may well find that the power center is already there. Let me know. Have you dowsed for it yet? Have you actually asked? Is it there? But yeah, you can with intent. You can ask it. I mean, there are two ways. You can move it and kind of all of these things. I know it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But it's just great. It's just lovely because it's the power of the mind interacting with this space. You can ask to move things to a more convenient space so that you can measure and see what's going on, and then it'll just go back. Or you can ask for a power center to move and to be positioned next to you. That will stay next to you if you're working with the intent and with the positive vibes that the power center is picking up and is aware of. So that's why it'll stay there, because if you consistently meditate in that spot, that's why it'll stay there. In the first instance, I'm saying you're just pulling something across like an earth energy pattern, and just looking at what you've got, right? And then it goes back again. So Melinda, successfully asked the rod to show you the optimal spot for meditating home. Yeah, it is not in the actual energy center, but alongside. Yeah, that's very common. It is very common. Yeah, that I was about to say that. You sit, but it's just off. And the power center in a sacred site is not actually geometrically in the center of the circle, right? It's just off the center. It's good, you know, it's close enough. So don't get too stressed about that. I sound a little bit cavalier about it, and sometimes people want to be absolutely precise, but that's just me. I'm a little bit kind of woolly on those things. It's a little bit free and easy. If you want to be precise, then really it's up to you, Melinda, to then decide whether you actually feel more comfortable and find a more successful meditation while you're actually sitting in the center of that power center or alongside it. And I think what you'll find is that actually sitting alongside it, I mean, literally, you know, not right dead on it, but just next to it, is probably the optimum place. So see how you get on. Yeah, there, go for it, Billy. Let us know how you get on. Yes, well, your office would be a lot better, JF. Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to do. And while you're there, ladies, Billy and Tammy, you can also, if you feel confident enough, ask to speak to the guardian of place of your house or apartment, and see how you get on. That's if you feel confident enough about it. Have a look back at one of the previous Monday moments. We talked about talking to the guardian of place then. The reason I suggest that is because, of course, that's what completely changed my life and started me on this path, was talking to the guardian energy of the house. So because they approached us way back in '98. So we'll give it a go if you want. Yep. You're at, if you put if you put any kind of crystals on those power centers, then the power center will react to it, and that's part of the fun that you can have dowsing. By putting different crystals on, you'll find the power center actually reacts differently. You'll get okay, I'll say that again in a second. But as you put a crystal on the power center, you'll get a different pattern that you can douse. Play with it to see how you get on. What I actually said, Billy, was, as you and Tammy are both interested in going to find the main power center in your apartments or houses, which is great, you can, if you feel confident and if you feel happy enough, ask at the same time, when you're standing there with that power center, ask to speak to the guardian of the space. So the guardian of the house. So that's a personality. I'm going to say, as a human being. It's not a human being. It's a person in the subtle realms. It's the energy of a person in the subtle realms. They normally feel quite angelic, although they're not kind of strictly speaking angelic, but they are guardian energies. They are really lovely things, beings. You don't do it if don't do it if that freaks you out, and but do if you want to, and that is, as I say, that's if you look back at a couple of previous Monday moments, I think it is, then there's a couple of them that talk about communicating with the guardian of the space, right? And I talk in those videos about the fact that you've got the fabric of the house itself has a personality. You can talk to the house itself, but you won't get much feedback from it. You can talk to the spirit of the land, so the spirit of place, but again, that's covers a much wider area. But you can also talk to the spirit of the space within your house, and that's the one you're going for, because she or he, it just depends on the feeling of that energy, will be looking after the earth energy, the subtle realms, on that side of the veil within the space in which you live. Okay, I mean, everybody's got one. It's just that most people don't know about it. Yeah, let us know. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Oh, yeah, I have no doubt at all, Billy, that you'll pick up whatever you want to be picking up. Newgrange, I've never been there. Yes, absolutely. Oh no, quartz is very often quartz is found at sacred sites because of its vibratory properties. Vibratory properties? Well, you know what I mean. The crystalline properties of quartz. A lot of the stone circles down in Cornwall, which is where I'm more familiar with, right down there, having worked with Hamish down there, had some, the granite has a quartz content as far as I understand it. and some of the stone circles. There's a stone circle called Boscawen down there in Cornwall, and that actually had one large white stone which had a massive amount of quartz in it. It's a fabulous thing. So the crystals, they really resonate. Lady K's been doing her own stuff with the black shungite. Gosh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Just whenever you want, Dixie, just drop me a line. I mean, I really do want to help you because, as I said way back, we absolutely can get you sorted. That I just want to be able to do it, and if we communicate, then we can work out the plan. Work out the process, get you sorted, because there'll be a reason why it's not sticking. It really is. If it doesn't stick with remote viewing, it doesn't stick with hammering things in. There's a reason, and that's the key to it. And it's not just because you're doing something wrong. That's not the point. Okay. Yep, Stanton Drew. Yeah. All of these, they're all great. I mean, this quartz is really a really interesting thing. Why is that one left for review? Probably somebody mucking about. I don't know. Can't even find that. Does it mean that one's help a review? Do you recommend any sort of rods? Oh, hang on. Show. There it goes. Right. Don't know what happened there, Billy. You got censored. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's right. That's because they thought it was spam. Right. Mel, do you recommend any sort of rods? No, really, best thing to do is to find, I don't know how many sort of crystal shops or mind, body, spirit shops you've got around your place. Ideally, you want to go and just pick up a couple of sets and see how they feel. Or, failing that, just look online and see which one's going to grab your attention. A lot of people go for these rods that have holders, and they have metal holders and they've got metal rods. They can be very twitchy. They can be really flit around a lot. So then those are not my favorite choice. Some people like them, but I don't. I mean, these are very basic, but they're lovely, they're beautiful, but they're just a piece of bent iron. It doesn't matter whether you go for copper, brass, steel, stainless steel. There are some nice simple stainless steel ones, just a nice L rod. They're about that long, very simple. You'll find those on you would have to get them from abroad, but I don't know whether there must be an Australian Society of Dowsing. I would have thought there's one in the US, there's one in the UK, there must be one in Oz as well. Lee, very kind of you, very kind. That's okay, mate. Still on the coat hangers. Yeah, well, I mean, the coat hangers will work, but if you want something that's a bit nicer, then have a look on the websites. Have a look on have a look on Amazon. I guess you must have Amazon down there. I guess. Tammy, yeah. Artifacts in Mississippi. I was flooding. They found spells. Yes. Well, exactly. This is because you've got again, when doing a house healing on a piece of land, this is one of the things we look at, Tammy. We look at historical interactions. So if it's been a sacred site in the past, and of course the Native American Indians, I guess that's who you're talking about, were incredibly in tune with the earth, with nature, and so therefore there's often a lot of interaction and things left by them. So you ask upstairs. I mean, again, we're looking for detrimental stuff. Of course, not all of the interaction. I mean, goodness me, by any of these peoples in the past was detrimental necessarily, but sometimes it can be that it's just the person that's now living in the space doesn't resonate with the work that was done in the past, so it has to be sorted. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't hate you, Billy, for using a cut down coat hanger. No, you just use Night Dixie. Take care, mate. Just use whatever you can, Billy. Just it's whatever suits you, whatever you need to do. Yeah, I was going to say they would be about $10, £10. Yeah, Native American. Yeah, that's it. Hey, look at you two. You're both from MS. Is that Missouri? Sorry, Massachusetts? No, I don't know. Sorry. Good. Yeah, don't put yourself down, Mel. Okay, good. All right, so last questions. I know there's a bit of delay, so I'll just give you a chance to pop in last questions. If we get inundated, then I'll have to drop some. Yes, that's right, Billy. It's it's about the intention. Choctaw, Mississippi. Look at that, eh? Choctaw. Gosh, Dan. Anyway, good of you to join us, Dan. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mel. Okie dokie. Right. Well, it's been great. I'm sorry I've been a bit woolly today. I feel a bit woolly today. I don't know whether it's come across like that, but anyway, great to see you all again. We'll be doing another one next week. If any of you want to drop me questions between now and then, I will try and publicize next week's a little bit more. I did nothing this time apart from a quick thing on Facebook. Yeah, thanks, Billy. Really good to see you. Yeah. Take care, everybody. I'm going to say goodbye. Cheers, then. Take care. See you next week. But send me some questions, and then we can make it all work for you. Cheers, Jeff. Take care. Bye.